Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here, and we're doing an 8-4 Fate Reforged draft. So this is my first of the this format, I think. Good good pack, a lot of good cards in here. I think we probably just want the Outpost Siege, but there are some really good aggressive cards in here. Goblin Heel Cutter. I might just draft differently than I like. I feel like with Swiss, I draft pretty experimentally. But with this, I might be a little bit more spike. Like maybe I just take the heel cutter, even though it's not built-in card advantage like Outpost Siege. It's just really aggressive. Um, it's just a really good card. Get by blockers. Oh, by the way, the Arcbond thing, I was completely wrong. I apologize if I misled you um, in any way there. I think I'm going to take heel cutter here. I'm just going to go for balls to the wall like crazy aggressive deck. And heel cutter is, I think, one of the better cards you can get in balls to the wall aggressive. But quick point on the Arcbond. Commenter was correct. I was wrong. The Arcbond actually makes the creature deal the damage. Arcbond does not deal the damage. So the interesting point that's, you should make about that is if you were to target, say, a lifelink creature, you could just gain, as long as it's your lifelink creature, you could just gain like a bunch of life depending on how much stuff is on the board. Or if you targeted any death touch creature, as long as that creature was dealt 1 damage, it would deal 1 damage to everything and destroy all the creatures. So they were absolutely correct. Because it was my opponent's creature, I would not be able to redirect the damage. All right, here I kind of want to take Valorous Stance. Yes, it puts us in red-white right away, but I like the Sandblast too, but I think I like the versatility of Valorous Stance more. Since it's both anti-removal and removal. There also is a Goreswine, which I think is good too. And there's a Whisper of the Wilds, but I'm going for kind of something hyper aggro if I can. And I feel like Valorous Stance is got some nice duality to it. I kind of like the Vault Breaker here. There is a Soul Summons as well. You can dash the Vault Breaker, which I kind of like. But maybe I just take some 2-drops now. Like I'd take Soul Summons over Smoldering Efreet. I'm probably okay with that. Just take the Soul Summons. I'm going for more spike than experimental this time around. I mentioned that already, but I wanted to reinforce that. I'm going for like just really cheap in-your-face deck. I don't like 8-4s as much as Swiss. I've mentioned that before too. They're not as enjoyable for me, but I just figure other people will like them. Ooh, it's an easy Bathe in Dragonfire. Great card. Not really giving up too much else. Otherwise, it'd probably be a Vault Breaker over a Dragonbell Monk, just because I feel like the Vault Breaker is a little more aggressive since it's got the dash. I mean, Vault Breaker is a good card. 3 mana, 4/2 haste, but it bounced back to your hand. I mean, it's good either way. I just like the Soul Summons because it's cheap, and if you want to play aggressive, you better make sure you got a lot of low curve stuff. But Bathe in Dragonfire is great here, so we'll take that. Okay, probably a Windscarred Crag. Otherwise, there's a Mardu Rune Mark. There is the Temur Battle Rage, which someone mentioned I didn't consider before, and they make a pretty good point. This would be tons better if we had Goreswines, which we might table, but I'm going to take the Windscarred Crag and make our mana better already because I feel like it. Okay. Skirmisher is an option. I wish that this worked with white. Does not. I can take the Skirmisher. It flies, right? It's good for raid. Not much else it's good for. I could take the Yeti just because it's the best card in case I end up in Jeskai. I'd probably want a Yeti more than a Skirmisher. Even in an aggressive build, I'm not super sold on Skirmisher. It's just a 1-mana 1/1. Not exactly. It's no 2-mana 2/2. I'll tell you that much. I think I'm going to take the Yeti just on the off chance that I end up in Jeskai because I think it's a really good Jeskai card. All right, here I think I'm just going to slam the Smoldering Efreet. Don't really like the card in general, but like I said, we're looking to build something pretty aggressive. And Lightning Shrieker would be fine too, especially now that I know it's got Trample. But let's take the Smoldering Efreet. All right, second Windscarred Crag seems correct. Although Pressure Point, good tempo card. Pressure Point is a very good tempo card. Yeah, that's actually interesting. It's really nice to be able to tap down an opponent's creature. I think since there's a decent chance we end up 2-color for this one, possibly, I'm just going to go with the Pressure Point. Because I think our mana is going to be good enough without too much fixing, and I might very much want that Pressure Point. All right, here I'm going to take the Soul Summons over the second Pressure Point, although there's Goreswine too. Okay, the Goreswine's better with the... Goreswine is better with the Teamer Battle Strike. Soul Summons is just cheap and consistent. Goreswine is pretty good, though. 4 power for 3. It also makes Barrage of Boulders more playable in our deck. That's interesting. I'm going to go with the cheaper threat. I think I just want to have as many 2-drops as possible. I mean, I'm really talking, I want to go pretty hyper balls to the wall. The Hungering Yeti is just like, I gave up a 1-drop 1/1 flyer for it that I'm not really concerned about. I could take Mardu Runemark, 3 mana. It might actually be, for curve purposes, pretty good for our deck. 2-drop white creature. Although they're not white creatures, are they? Well, then maybe it's not that good for us. Well, too late. I already took it. All right, I'm going to take the Smoldering Efreet here, number 2. Like I said, don't particularly like the card, but we're... by we, I mean I'm building something hyper aggressive, so I want just tons of 2-drops. Erishan Cleric's fine. That's a late Rite of Undoing. I don't actually think Erishan Cleric's exactly a card I'm looking for with this deck, but for now I'll put it in the sideboard. All right, we'll just cut white. Okay, so Abzan Advantage, fine sideboard card. All right, so we have pretty good red-white base. We're looking pretty aggressive. We already have 4 2-drop creatures, a tempo card, a good removal, and a Goblin Heel Cutter, which is also good. So if we want to stick to the Boros deck, I think we're just going to have to look for some pretty strong cards here. Wow, Necropolis Fiend and Ivory Tusk Fortress both in here. Pretty good. I think we just take the Burn Away. There's a Swift Spear, which I think is actually pretty good with this deck with the double Soul Summons and everything. And I did say I want to be aggressive, but Burn Away is just a fantastic removal spell. Much better for us than Kill Shot. Despite it being 5 mana, it really is that good, in my opinion. So we'll take that to start her off. Okay, Alabaster Kirin is completely acceptable, and there is a Trumpet Blast in here too, which already looks good in our deck. But we're going to go for the flyer for now, hope to wield the Trumpet Blast. I think there's a much better chance we wield Trumpet Blast than there is wheeling Alabaster Kirin. So, all right, I'm on board with that. Yeah, so far we're set up, reasonably well to be just a red-white deck. And even though I mentioned... And I still believe I like the 3-color decks more than the 2-color decks in the format overall. When you're building something hyper-aggressive, there is definitely an advantage to being 2-color, absolutely. I mean, you want to consistently be hitting your 2-drops. And, okay, so choices. We've got Summit Prowler, which is a fine beater. I'm kind of feeling the Kill Shot. It's actually not a very good aggressive card, but it's either that or a Student, which I guess is fine for us. I guess it's pretty good for us. We do have double Soul Summons. It seems a bit early. I mean, Kill Shot is definitely a stronger card. And there is Summit Prowler and Windscarred Crag, I should mention, but... Kill Shot is the strongest card, but when you're being aggressive, it really isn't what you're looking for. You're looking for much more proactive cards like Burn Away and Bathe in Dragonfire that just deal with the threat pre-combat. I guess I'm going to go Student. I do want as many 2-drops as I can possibly get and just go hog wild on cheap threats. Okay, sort of missed here. I guess we'll take the Tracker. Not a very good card, but on color. in the 2-color plan I'm trying. All right, here's a pretty easy Trumpet Blast. I already very much like it in this deck. And yeah, otherwise it's like Witness of the Ages or Sage Eye Harrier. I think I'd probably take the Witness just because it's got more power. All right, this is definitely a Mardu Warshrieker deck, absolutely. We've got just all these things to turn on Raid, and we already have some, I guess, decent 3-drops, but you can even play 2-drops off of it too. It's just a very good, card for bringing out more threats. All right, another Student seems fine, especially given that we have a Trumpet Blast already. So let's take that. Erase seems fine for sideboard, although we already have a Abzan Vantage, which is probably better for us anyway. Maybe I just hate something here. Could take a Rugged Highlands for like a green splash, but I don't think we're splashing. We're not playing Naya. We're definitely a dedicated 2-color. Maybe the best card against us is like, I guess Pet's pretty good against us, surprisingly. The other two are fine, but I feel like we can deal with them a little bit easier. Sidisi's Pet is actually a pretty good roadblock against us. All right, Table to Swift Spear is fantastic for us. I think it's very good in our deck. So pretty happily taking that. So how's our removal looking? We've got Valorous Stance, which is better than, and I mean, I think better than Smite the Monstrous. I guess they're different because Smite deals with power and this deals with toughness. But I still think Valorous Stance is better than Smite the Monstrous. All right, Double Trumpet Blast seems fine. We only have 11 creatures, including our Soul Summons, so we're going to need some more. But I think we'll be able to make that work out of pack 3. Double Trumpet Blast seems okay with Double Student Swift Spear as well. So what does this deck need? It needs a little bit more removal, but I guess since we can easily get away with 17 lands in this deck, and we really don't need fixing, Summit Prowler is a great pickup here. Totally playing that. So we're up to 12 creatures. Do I care about any of these? Guess Dreadmaw maybe is good against us? I don't know. Tuscalocedon, well, I don't mind if someone's playing it, but I certainly don't mind if someone plays Lens of Clarity either. Okay, so moving to the last pack. I like where we're at. Very aggressive looking. We just basically need a little bit. Ooh, Herald's a pretty good one. That's going to be tough to trump, I think, in this deck. I mean, that is just put a bunch of threats out with your Trumpet Blast. There was a Rush of Battle, Barrage of Boulders, which actually isn't that great for us. We have a couple 5-power dudes, 4+ I should say. Cards I want to upgrade. I actually think Rune Mark's fine in here still with Double Student. Although, I guess we do need some more. I mean, plus just a Giant Strength. A more expensive Giant Strength is fine too. But I think it's an easy Herald of Anafenza here. Just poop out a bunch of threats. It's probably pretty good for us. Okay. Interesting. I think we're just taking Kieran here. Just evasive and good. Maybe likely wheel the Tormenting Voice, but I don't even know if we'll need it. Guess it depends on how much prowess we pick up out of here. I mean, Battle Priest is just an amazing card in general. I almost want to say Warshrieker's better for our deck, but that's probably greedy. I mean, Battle Priest is pretty good. We really don't need fixing for 2-color. I'm just not even concerned about fixing. I think we're just looking for upgrades at this point. Like, I don't even want to end up playing Tracker. I don't really like it. That does make Warshrieker worse, I guess, if we don't have a ton of 3-drops to go into. Let's just take the Battle Priest. It's a very good card. I mean, there's a low chance we wheel Warshrieker. If no one wants that, I guess. All right, probably just want the Horde Ambusher. It does like exactly what we want. Very good tempo. We already have a couple Trumpet Blasts, so we don't need another one. I don't want to play against Abzan Guide, but whatever. Probably, maybe wheel the Defiant Strike, possibly. Active Treason seems fantastic for us. Timely Horde Mate brings back Herald, Swift Spear, Double Student. That's really good. We already have enough 4-drops, though. I think I'm just going to take this Act as my 23rd card. I mean, Act is pretty awesome in a deck like this, where you're already super hyper tempo. So we have 15 creatures currently with this build. after I take this active treason, my first cut is likely, if I get a better creature, probably the Prowler, just to like lower our curve a little bit more. All right, active treason it is. Do I want a second act? That's a good question. I mean, I think act is really good in this deck. I could see it. I mean, there's nothing else in this pack for us. So it's either an act or a hate pick. I probably just take the act. I don't think I'm going to get so greedy as to play 16 land deck, as appealing as that is. I think we're just going to take the act. Act alongside a heel cutter too is just bonkers. All right, I like Dragon Grip. I think I like the Lurkers a little bit more for this deck. Just because I kind of like Lurkers. They're a pretty aggressive, nice card, especially alongside some active treasons. I could see cutting the Rune Mark, actually. Only because I don't have a ton of white creatures. I do have Herald. Soul Summons, remember, are not white. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 white creatures currently that interact positively with the Rune Mark. I think I'd rather just have a Lurker here. I like the Dragon Grip too, but in this kind of deck in general, I don't really like it. But all right, that's fine. Let's just hate a Guide. That's like the last creature I want to see. I'm not going to play Swift Kick. Even though it actually is decent in this deck, I just don't really need it. And I don't need a War Behemoth, so I'm definitely going to hate Abzan Guide, which I think is just the best against us. All right, Lurkers. Do I want to upgrade into Lurkers? I think there's a reasonable argument for cutting one of the acts for a Lurkers, which I think I am going to do. I want to have a good creature count, and you usually only need one active treason. You don't want to get a bunch of them bunched up in your hand. So, all right, second Lurkers it is. I don't even think I'm going to play Tormenting Voice, so I think I'm just going to hate a Throttle, which is probably the best against us. Sure, I'll take a Shatter for pesky artifacts I don't want to deal with. Seeing Bellstrike seems like a reasonable way to slow us down, so I'll hate that. Mandrill's just a good card. I'll hate that. Sure, I don't really care about that. Okay, so I did what I wanted to do, which was build a pretty nice looking aggressive deck. We ended up with 16 creatures, which is certainly good enough, I think, to run the double Trumpet Blast. Our creatures look pretty good. I mean, they look pretty aggressive. We can easily get away with 17 lands. Removal is a little bit lacking, I guess. Our removal is pretty much Pressure Point, Valorous Stance, Bathe in Dragonfire. Active Treason is not really removal, but it can work like it. Horde Ambusher is, you know, not really removal either, but same sort of thing as Act. And then Burn Away. So actually, I guess we have a decent count. I can see some spicy turns where we do like an end of your turn Pressure Point and then Active Treason on whatever that is, plus like Trumpet Blast or something crazy like that. So I actually think this deck is pretty good. I think it's a pretty powerful looking deck. Yeah, I don't really see any major glaring holes in this. It looks like a pretty straightforward, aggressive, consistently aggressive deck. So let's group stuff separate. Take another look here quick. Heel Cutter, I think a lot of times is going to be dashed. Lurkers, I still definitely like. Removal looks good. Trumpet Blasts look good. Trumpet Blasts are nice too in case we get to a stalled board state. You can just get enough creatures out there where the Trumpet Blast can assist in finishing the game. So yeah, I guess the only shortcoming of this deck, slightly less impressive on the removal front, but certainly not lacking enough where I'm like majorly concerned about it. I do still definitely like the Valorous Stance in the main deck for just dealing with huge toughness threats. I don't think I need Summit Prowler or Rune Mark necessarily in the main deck. Yeah, this is a nice looking deck. It really is. So very easy to build as well. Looks like we're just like dead even almost. Well, I guess we're airing towards red, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to do an even split anyway. So, well, I want to do 8-8. I want 9 of each. I think we need both relatively early. So overall, yeah, it's very it's an aggressive looking Boros deck for sure. So I definitely made picks in this that I wouldn't have made if this were a Swiss draft. Like I would have just opened up with Outpost Siege right off the bat. But because I wanted to do something hyper aggressive, I knew Heel Cutter was going to be much better for that strategy. So this is definitely a spiky looking deck. But yeah, overall I like it. Definitely. I mean, yeah, it's a spiky deck. It's exactly what you'd want in an 8-4. It looks like a deck that should consistently put pressure on my opponent. So once again, I want to apologize for the Arcbond error. I was completely wrong on that. I had talked to the orc too, and that's why I feel so bad and why I'm apologizing for misleading you, because it was totally unintentional. My question was, why couldn't I redirect my Arcbond to my opponent's planeswalkers? And they didn't ask the question of, well, did you target an opponent's creature? Which, I mean, that's not their fault. They just assumed, I guess, I cast it on my creature. But I didn't even think about that aspect of the card. That Arcbond makes the effective Arcbond makes the creature it's targeting the source of the damage, which is very interesting. So I don't think that comes up all that much. But yes, I was wrong. I was in error. So I hope I didn't, make anybody super mad on that. But yes, I'm excited to play the deck like this. I think it's like I said, it's a good looking deck for sure. It's the kind of deck you want to see in an 8-4, I would think, or at least fits my style pretty good. All right, we'll see you round 1.